All right, welcome back to Nerd Nation. I am excited for our guest today. She is probably more excited than I am. She has made fun of me in my podcast already several times, so I decided to get her on here as soon as possible. So, Cygell Mercedes, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, Cygell, we actually had this argument yesterday. You and I have a lot of arguments.
I know. I'm like, which one?
Yeah, which one? Exactly. You have been with N.E.R.D for how long?
4 years.
4 years in October.
Yeah.
Okay.
Working on 5.
Working on 5 and 6 and 7.
Maybe.
So, explain. I love your story, how you got into door knocking. Actually, it's a remarkable story because you actually moved across the country.
Yeah, I did.
So tell us how you heard about your first door knocking job and what you did, and just tell us that story real quick.
So I graduated college in May. I was working at a furniture store in Orlando, Florida. I was so broke. I was so tired of being broke, like exhausting. Being broke is so exhausting. And there was this guy that my mom used to work with that had moved to Arizona, and he was like trying to recruit my mom so hard for solar and like door to door. And he's like, it's so easy. You just set up appointments. People are basically begging you and you make so much money and blah, blah, blah. And my mom was like, yeah, okay, this is great, And then my mom gets off the phone. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm like never going to do that. And I was like, well, tell that dude to send me a picture of his paycheck. And if I like it, then we'll go from there. That's
funny because I got into solar similar. Like I had a friend who showed me his paycheck and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll listen.
Yeah. So like my mom was like, are you sure, Sigel? And I was like, yeah, tell him to send me a picture of his paycheck. His name was David. So David sent a picture of his paycheck and I was like, Mom, can you take the weekend off of work? And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, take the weekend off for what? Because I'm driving to Arizona, baby. Like we're rolling out. So I had a Nissan Sentra at the time, whatever I could fit in my trunk. I had a little TV and my clothes. That was it. Like,
so did you know David or just your mom?
Just my mom knew him.
Wow.
I had never, so I just like, I just rolled out. I found this apartment on Craigslist that this like traveling nurse wanted someone to take over her lease, and she like paid for a month. And I was like, heck yeah. So I had like no money. I think I had like $400 when I moved out here. And then I moved on the 4th of July of 2016. It was 120 degrees. I had never visited Arizona before in my life. I had no idea what this was about out here. Like I'm an East Coast girl. So, 120 degrees. And
your mom thought you were crazy, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Probably the funniest thing is that, so I had no idea, like I just came for the money. And then I was like, everything else will fall into place. I didn't know like what door knocking was like. So on the first day of the job, I show up to this office in a pencil skirt and some flat shoes because I had no idea. I was like, so yeah, I knocked doors. I shadowed this dude knocking doors in a pencil skirt.
But you knew you were going to knock doors.
Yeah, I knew like, but I didn't know like what people wore. I didn't know. I had no idea. No one's ever knocked on my door growing up. I had no idea.
See, when I got into sales, like I had no idea I'd be knocking doors. Literally no idea until I showed up to the sales school. And I was like, what the heck am I going to do? You know? So you show up and
pencil skirt, my hair was done, makeup on,
And did you go out on the doors
I went out on the doors like that. I went out on the doors like that. And I remember this dude, Jay, he like looked me up and down and he's like, okay, so you're shadowing me today. And I was like, okay. So yeah, I went out and then they were just like set up these appointments, and it was not, people weren't like begging for it. People weren't like opening up their door and like, oh my gosh, yes.
I was praying that you would come.
Oh my goodness, this is divine intervention that you're showing up at my door. It was not that way. And then,
but you had no choice at this point.
No choice. I was in too deep. Yeah, I like, you
moved, you're there.
And I'm not like, once I make a decision, like that's the decision. My mom says that's like the most annoying thing about me is like, once my mind is made up, it's made up. And so my mind was made up on making Arizona work for me. And my mom every day, she's like, are you sure, Sigel? Do you want to come back? You're looking a little washed, come back to Florida. But I mean, you guys know you can't pay me to move back to Florida.
So you were 4th of July, you moved here, you knocked doors in a pencil skirt, not recommended for those first time knockers. How, was there a moment where you're like, okay, I can do this?
Wow. So really, I struggled a lot. Cause I mean, this company that recruited me, they did not set up the proper expectation, whatever, like at all. Like
surprise.
all. Surprise. So I think my headspace was way ahead of where it should have been. And so I struggled a lot because of the learning curve needed to catch up with where I was mentally. And so it took me training myself, because literally I shadowed one guy one day, David the other day, and they were like, all right, figure it out. No script to memorize, nothing, no training, no classroom. Like it was literally just shadowing 2 days and I had to go figure it out. Like I had no idea to get a bill picture or complete a confirmation call, or I had no idea that people had to qualify for this, and no clue. And so I struggled for 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
It took me 6 weeks to get my first sale. I was the laughing, there was a little joke going around me about me at the office, but they would joke about how I didn't have a sale, but no one could rag on me for my lack of work ethic because I showed up every day. I never called out a single day. And they even had to change the operating hours of the office because I was out on the doors so long. So on Saturdays, we used to do breakfast as a team, and then we used to go out to area and be on the doors by 10, and then they'd get off the doors at 1. I'd be out on the doors on a Saturday till 6 o'clock at night. Wow. So they had to change the operating hours on a Saturday. Because I was look,
making changes for
Sigel. It hasn't
surprise.
Hasn't changed much. But yeah, after 6 weeks, and there was a moment that I was maybe this isn't working out for me and I need to reevaluate. Maybe I need to look for another job. And I was applying to jobs at American Express, and they were like, oh yeah, you get a salary. It's $42,000 a year. And then in my mind, I was I didn't move freaking to Arizona where I know absolutely nobody, where I'm sleeping on the floor of my apartment to make $42,000 a year. I didn't do that. I came here to make life-changing money. And so I ended up getting an overnight job just to hold me over. And then
what was that?
It was at a group home for kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I used to help put them, they used to sleep. They used to be asleep when I used to get there because I used to get there at 9 o'clock. But I used to count all their meds and prepare the food and make breakfast for them when they used to wake up and all of that stuff.
So you would go knock doors.
Yeah.
All day long.
All day long.
And then was that 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah, 9 o'clock at night. So I used to get home from knocking at 8. I used to shower, and then head into this place in Mesa at 9 o'clock at night. And then I used to be there till 7 o'clock in the morning. And then it was so much traffic. And I used to get back to Scottsdale and then sleep from cause I used to get home by 8:30 after traffic. So I used to sleep from 9 till 11:30 or 12 o'clock because my team meetings were at 1 o'clock and then 2 o'clock, depending what time of year. And so yeah, I used to sleep for 2 or 3 hours and then go back and do it all over again.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because there's a common theme that I found with, the really successful people in this industry. And that is, they struggled at first. They earned everything that they have.
Yeah, no, 6 weeks was a long time. The owner of the company and then my boss used to always check on me. Are you okay, Cygell? Are you okay? I'm yeah, I'm okay. I'm figuring this out. And it wasn't until one day it snapped in my head where I was look, I know the money that you can make doing this. There's obviously something that I need to fix to get that money. And I need to be unshakable in my mindset to only succeed at that. There's no other option. And I think when I put it that there was no other option but to succeed at what I came here to do, then it just zoned me in on that one goal. And then boom, after 6 weeks, it exploded for me.
So was it something that someone, hey, you need to do this, or did you just figure it out? Was it something that someone helped you with? Did someone recommend something, or after 6 weeks you just kind of?
Well, I was that company culture was very different than this company culture. Like that company culture, they were just like, you were just a money cow for them. So they didn't really care because they were going to find somebody else to take your place. So I started like journaling every day, and there was a book that I read that like helped me measure my goals and stuff.
What was the book?
Compound Effect.
Compound Effect.
Yeah, the Compound Effect.
You love that book.
I do. I love that because that,
it was
really
a game changer for you.
It was because I feel like I'm a very ambitious person, but sometimes we have these like ambitious goals that just seem so overwhelming that you don't even know how to start, and it's so easy to just like give up on them. But I think like the Compound Effect like helped me break my goals down into little baby steps, so I felt like I was accomplishing something when I reached that little milestone. And then it just like created this compound of change in my life. Like it was pretty freaking crazy. It was crazy that the goals I'd write down daily knocking goals, daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, quarterly goals. And it was so nuts that I would literally, reach those goals. Like subconsciously, my goals, what I did for the day would align with what I wrote on that paper.
That's
it was
awesome.
freaking nuts. Yeah.
And I want to dive into goals real quick. So you wouldn't write goals about sales because you couldn't control that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
You said it. You set goals for doors knocked.
Doors knocked. My sit percentage.
Your sit percentage, things that you could control.
Yeah. My appointment set, my sit percentage, my doors knocked. And then I knew like my metrics where like I knew if I set X amount of appointments this week, my sit percentage was really good. It was the best in the company. I knew that the kind of leads I set were great quality. I knew that the sales were going to come, but I also didn't put pressure on myself because I couldn't control like someone's credit or things like that.
Right.
So,
but it's a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
If you
totally.
just do A and B, you're going to get C and D.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
awesome. All right. So you get into this company, you are stubborn. That's a nice way to put it. Right.
Yeah.
And just, you're not going to fail. So one of the things one word that I would use to describe you, there's a few, but one of the words that I would describe you would be loyal.
Yeah.
So I remember when we recruited you, it was not an easy recruit. It was not easy to get you to come to N.E.R.D Power. So tell us a little bit about that. So I know who referred you, but tell us that story.
Well, like I'm a loyalist, like loyalty to the end, if we're going to war, you want me on your team every time. Like, I'm tracking you off the battlefield with me. And so this company, while they didn't really do a great job training me or anything like that, they gave me an opportunity and they gave me a path. That was what I was super appreciative of. And I had a really great relationship with the owner of the company and like my manager. Like
to this day.
Yes, till this day. Like we hang out, and the owner of the company's wife is my dentist and stuff. Like I'm very much still close with them. So I felt like so dirty even considering leaving them.
But they wanted you to do one thing and you wanted something else.
Yeah. And I think that's where it kind of like, I came to this realization, and it took me a long time to even like walk into the N.E.R.D office to even do that was a really big deal. And it wasn't until like I had approached their owner and I was like, hey, I would love to, I've been doing this for a year for you guys. I've proven myself. Now I don't want, to run anyone else's leads. I just want to run my own. And if you're worried that you're going to lose the lead volume, I will set all of these leads, and then you decide the ones that you want to assign me, and you can have another closer run some of my other leads. And then they were like, no, here's some money. Just shut up. And so they just like gave me money for me to get off their back. And then,
but you wanted to get better.
I wanted to get better.
Yeah.
I wanted to do more. And, like, that's how I am. Like, you guys know, like every like year and a half, I get this like itch to like I like a challenge. It makes it exciting. I like learning a new skill, pushing the boundaries. And I was so good. I was really good. I mean, I had a 68% sit percentage. That's unheard of. Like
68%.
68% of my leads
as an
would
assessor.
sit. Yeah. And I would set 10 to 14 leads a week.
Wow.
Like I was, as an assessor, like an average assessor at that office was getting like 4 to 5 sales a month. And that was a good month for them. I mean, there was a month I had 14.
Wow. And you did
Yeah.
this in between your pedicures. She told us a story last week about
That
an
was
injury.
actually a facial.
Or a
I got a facial.
Sorry. She literally injured herself
Almost broke my foot. And that was freaking
because she didn't go to
karma.
work. Exactly.
That was karma saying, Cygell, you needed to be on the doors that day.
We'll tell that story a different day. So you come to N.E.R.D. And you met with me. You met with Babe, I believe.
Yeah.
So walk us through that.
I sat in on one of the training classes, like randomly, from another guy like brought me to the office, and you were like holding the training class. And I remember just being like, wow, okay, this feels different. Very different atmosphere. Like the other office that I was in felt very much like the boiler room. And it just felt so different coming into N.E.R.D. And a lot of it, I mean, I was kind of like a hater about it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I remember.
I was just like, oh God, these freaking corny N.E.R.D people. N.E.R.D Power? What kind of name of the company is? Oh my gosh, a bunch of weirdos. And then there was a few people that I met that I was like, I don't know, this guy is kind of like too big of an ego, or I felt that. But I really liked you. And then I met Babe in passing the first time I came to N.E.R.D's office. And I remember that you and I sat at this like picnic wooden table, and we like sat down, and you're like, look, I need you on my team. I'm just going to put it out there. And I was just like, okay, bro, like whatever you say, dude. Like, but in my mind, I was like, dude, this guy has no idea how loyal I am to my company. Like, you have no idea how much work this is going to take.
And you had no idea how good of a salesman I was.
No idea. I was like, damn it, these freaking Mormons. Yeah. That was my first experience at N.E.R.D.
And it took a couple weeks.
It took like a month and a half. And then I was like, at my old company, I just was like, hey, I'm going to take some time off. Cause I was just like, I'm going to take some time off while I figure out. And then I ended up lying to my old company and saying that I was going to go to law school. I was like, yeah,
I didn't know that either.
That was my story. Cause I didn't know how to just cause they were just.
Note to self, if Cygell ever says he's going to school.
I was going to be a lawyer though. Before I got into, I was going to go to law school and everything. But yeah, no, I told them, I was like, yeah, I'm going through this ASU program to take my LSAT and going to go to law school. Like, I have the money, I saved it up, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, okay, great. Because they're just like such sharks there that they were just, oh my gosh. And man, I love money. Money is great. Like money is really great. It is not the source of my happiness by all means, but I rather freaking cry in a Ferrari than a Nissan Sentra. I'll tell you that. So the money it's hard to say no to. And so that's why I didn't even want to deal with it. I didn't want to like blur those lines at all. And I just wanted to leave on notes on like just a positive note. And so, yeah. And then I took the leap at N.E.R.D. and I'll never forget when I had told Babe was eating popcorn. Babe had offered me popcorn. I was like, this guy is just so nonchalant and chill. How interesting. And then I was like, Babe, I was trying to like, tell Babe, like, Babe, I'm just like really committed to this company that I'm with. The owner of the company's wife is my dentist. And Babe's like, I'll find you another dentist. I remember that. And then I was like, you know what? I really like these people. He's just, there's certain people
real.
he's so real and genuine. And, there's certain people that you meet in your life that you're like, man, so many people probably just, don't realize what they have when they meet this guy. And you just, and I just really felt that about him and his energy. And I was like, you know what? This feels good here. This feels like I can make a mark. And that's what I wanted.
So you came in and you didn't start closing right away.
No. So what happened, I was setting appointments.
Right.
I had never closed. You did my boot camp.
Yep. So you needed to learn a new skill set.
Yeah.
But you still wanted to make money. So.
But I remember there was like the program at that time was like, hey, it was Carl or Derek Gurna. Like they'll close for you,
60-40.
blah, 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 60-40 split. And I was like, I'm going to figure this out. So I sat through your boot camp. After I did your boot camp, I sat at my kitchen table for a week straight and just like became obsessed with solar. Even though I had been in solar for a year, I didn't know anything about it. Like I just knew how to set up an appointment.
Right.
And so I like sat at my dinner table from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night every day after boot camp. And I just like put a binder together, researched the Department of Energy, went through all the utility websites, like everything, like solar designs, kilowatts, all that stuff. And then after that, I went and knocked doors. Actually, my first house, I set the appointment. The first door I knocked for N.E.R.D, set the appointment, the sweet lady. And I remember I went back to that house and it was colder at that time because this was like in November at that time. And I was just so nervous that I was shaking in this house. Like I was shaking. And then I just remember like going through the motions and I signed the documents and I was like, holy shizballs. I just did that. This. I just freaking did my first ever appointment with N.E.R.D. The first lead I ever set was also my first close with N.E.R.D. And then my second lead I ever set, I would have closed, but they failed credit. And I was like, this is great. We're off to the races. And then I plowed away.
And you did. You were off to the races from then on.
Yeah. I had to get Carl and Derek to shake in their boots a little bit.
So I love the fact that basically you dove into it again, like you became a student of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like it was a new skill set. So you spent the time. Yeah. I mean, people don't realize, you know, how much time, you know, apart from the trainings, apart from, you know, the field shadowing and stuff like that, like you have to put in some extra time.
Well, like the best analogy that I can use to explain it is you go to college for 4 years to learn a skill, to earn a salary of whatever that position is. Let's say you want to be a doctor. You want to make, you know, $250,000 a year. How many years of school do you have to go to be a doctor? So it's like people think, you know, you can make the money of a doctor. You can make the money of a lawyer, but you got to put in the time to learn the craft.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
And it doesn't come overnight.
No. Lots of trial and error and figuring out what works for you. And, you know, there's a pitch, but you want to put your own little flair on it. And there's certain things that align with your personality that you want to adapt to and all of that. Yeah.
Awesome. So, you made a name for yourself, and then we actually had a couple openings open up, one in California and one in Texas.
Yeah.
And you wanted to manage, basically, like you had mastered the close.
Yeah. After I had like recruited my brother over, and then I was like running in leads for Derek Iden and stuff. And then I was like, you know what? I really want like more, because I got that like year itch, you know, every year. It's like, and so I went to you and I was like, hey, you know, is there anything that I can do? Like, is there any new things that we're trying to accomplish that I can be a part of? And then you were like, do you want to move? And I was like, dang it. Sure. Where? And I remember this was at the beginning of September, or it was like September 10th or something.
So almost a year into N.E.R.D.
Almost a year into N.E.R.D. And by September 24th, I had locked in a new lease in San Antonio, Texas. I have no hesitation. Like once my mind is up, my mind is up. And so, yeah, that's where you guys were like LA or San Antonio. And I remember like, this is how trusting I am of like, babe. I was like, babe. And, you know, babe is such a salesman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think back at this. But, like, babe would never steer me wrong. But I was like, babe, where do you think I should go?
That's what makes him so good, though, because you know you can trust him.
I can trust him. Yeah. And he, like, totally sold me on it, you know? Yeah. And he was like, honestly, Cygell, you know, San Antonio, really great people. You know, the cost of living is great there. And it's a market that we've just tried. It's gonna be easy. We have a great guy there, like our master electrician. our master electrician's there. He holds the licenses. And I was like, you know what? San Antonio it is, babe. And then now if I go and talk about San Antonio with babe's like, yeah, the most I've ever do in San Antonio is visit the Riverwalk, and then I'm heading right back. I'm like, thanks, babe. Thank you for sending me there for 2 years almost. But
Well,
I mean, yeah.
We don't have time to cover San Antonio. That's going to be a story for another day because I think it's a remarkable story. I mean, you basically started from scratch.
Yeah, the hardest till this day. And I've been in labor for 4 days. Okay. Just no medication. All right. I just need to let this sink in. Okay. San Antonio, launching the San Antonio office is still the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life.
Yes. I was there right.
Not to deter anybody from opening up an office in the future.
Well, we had a lot to learn too as a company, right?
Mm-hmm. It was like the first fully fledged satellite effort. Yeah.
So awesome. So same thing. After 2 years, you got an itch, wanted to come back. So you came back to Arizona, and then 2 months later, the dreaded COVID.
Yeah.
Like that was a rough time as well.
Actually, like the full lockdown. So I moved back to Arizona March 18th. That was the day the stay home order was issued.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So we knew about it at the beginning of the year.
They closed the Texas border 4 hours after I left Texas.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was it was interesting and daunting at the same time, the task that I knew was going to be ahead of me while also being pregnant. So that was interesting.
So, and that was a year ago.
That was a year ago.
Yep. So
my daughter's going to be a year.
Well, I have a lot more questions, but I'm pretty sure
I'm an interesting person. This could go on forever.
But again, we're going to have you on multiple times. I just wanted to introduce you to our team of nerds, our Nerd Nation. And so I appreciate your time. And again, you guys will get an opportunity to really get to know Cygell. She's here, so I'm sure that we'll have her on a lot. Because I definitely want to cover I know
we had so many things to cover today, and look at where we're at.
I know. San Antonio is definitely in the future, though.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks for joining us today. Everyone, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eric.